We're going to roll the calendar back to 1970. I have a Sony AV3650. This is a black and white, reel-to-reel video tape recorder. I picked this up for a song on Facebook. I know nothing about it. I'm going to see if I can get this one to run. Check out what I just picked up. This is an old Sony AV3650. This is a 1/2 inch black and white video tape recorder, similar to the other one that I have, but this is a little more modern, and I believe the standard, it records a different standard than the other one. But there's the inside of it. The older one recorded what was called skip field, so it recorded one field and then played it back twice. This model records both fields of video. We're going to try this out and see if it works and see what needs to be done to this machine. It's an editing machine, so it'll do video editing and audio dubbing. Audio dub. In play, you can press the edit button and it'll switch in and cut in. I assume that's how it works. We've got slow-mo. This has got slow, variable speed. Slow-mo. Normal speed. Video audio level. External sync, normal or defeat. And TV, line, and camera inputs. Tracking control. This has got a capstan servo, whereas the other machine I've got does not. It's got a drum speed servo. I'm gonna get a power cable for this, get some audio video cables, and hook this up and see whether it works. So I got to find a power cord first of all. It uses just a standard 3-prong cord, so something like this might work. We'll see if this works. See if it gets power. I just want to see first of all whether it powers up and what it does. So power cord plugs into the back. This thing is also relatively heavy. Will it turn on? Looks like it does turn on. Well, that part works. Head turns on. No movement here. So we're going to need some belts probably for starters, because there's no movement of the take-up spool, but you can see that the capstan's turning. Nothing for fast forward, and rewind does work. So maybe a belt or maybe an idler is bad. So before we go any further, let's take this unit apart and see what's under here, because something's not driving the take-up spool. So let's start by disassembly. So first I'll start by removing the cover that goes over the heads. Get that out of the way first. And then I should be able to remove the top cover. That tape lever should go down like that to shut it off. That's stuck. It might be just the mechanism's gummed up. I guess we'll find out once I get into it. It says do not remove top cover or front cover. Yeah, who are they fooling? Of course we're going to remove the front cover. And I got to take off the skewing lever here, and probably take off the knob, and the pinch roller has to come off. It's going to need to be lubricated anyway. Two 2.5 millimeter. There we go. Okay. There's one more screw over here. I guess the front's got to come off as well. Looks like somebody's been into this too. The screws are all loose. And this is real soft. This cover should lift off. And now this cover, one more screw down here. One more screw in the front here, the head drum. Remove the cover. Now we can see why it's not turning. It looks to be idler driven, not belt driven. So maybe just a gummed up idler is stuck. Let's just try it again. Put the knob back on so I can change modes. We'll see why it's motor spinning. Something's gummed up. Because it works there, you see. Rewind works with plenty of torque. I think this little lever here is jammed. Or something's jammed here. So I believe our problem is right here. This pivot, this is frozen. This hinge is frozen. So let's get some penetrating oil into here. See if I can free that up. WD-40, incidentally, is what I'm using this time. Yeah, there's the rest of the problem is right there. This is frozen, solid. So let me pull this. I'm going to pull the arm off so that I can at least work on it away from the machine. Probably best to take this idler off as well, just so that I can, and even the real table, just so that I can get under here to work on it. Remove that belt. I think it's for the counter. Take the real table off. This is the slip clutch. This is just so that I can get to the spring, to remove the spring here, so I can take this idler assembly out. There's a spring here. Goes in there as well. Now I can lift this arm out of the way so that I can work on where it is frozen right there. I'm going to take the idler off as well, just so that I don't get grease on it while I'm working on this. Take off the E-clip. Okay, here's where it's stuck. So I got to unstick this. The lubricant on here is literally, it's a glue. Now I can get a liberal amount of penetrating oil in here, and then some regular oil once I get it freed up. As you can see, it's now free. And now just some oil to keep that from seizing up again. And then I can start to reassemble this and see if that will restore the operation of the plate lever. I'm not so worried about this auto stop one back here. It's sticking as well, but that won't affect the operation of the unit at this point. I just want to see whether I can get this thing to play and record. So that part is now free. Put some oil on here. We'll clear out this bearing here. See the old dried out lubricant that's in this other bearing. Clear that up. Same with this one. We'll put some fresh lubricant on this bearing. We're going to use just some 3-in-1 electric motor oil. Put a drop right down into the pivot point there. I'll clear off this shaft as well. Clear off this other shaft. Put a drop of oil on here. That looks a little better. My spring, my washer back on. Okay, E-clip back on to lock everything in place. Or some people call these Jesus clips, which is what you're saying when it flies off. You say, Jesus, did you see where that clip went? It never gets old. Alright, that one's back on. I'll put a drop of oil onto this. And put the idler back on. You'll see that there's a little oil reservoir on top here for the sintered bearing, so we'll just put some oil into that reservoir. That's the oil reservoir for the sintered bearing. The E-clip goes back on top. There. And put the spring back on. I just spent like 5 minutes trying to find my dental pick. Guess where it's hiding? Do you see it? Either do I. It was hiding in plain sight, literally. I wonder, where am I losing my mind? I know I just had my dental pick here when I took the spring off. Where the hell did it go? And it somehow managed to find its way under the power cord. Oh! I mean, I know my bench is cluttered, but it's not that cluttered. The space I'm actually working on is actually quite organized. Okay, pull that back in place and we'll put it over the anchor post here. There. Now it will turn the take-up spool. Ooh. Okay, we'll put a drop of oil on the bearing here. Put a drop there. Put a little more on here. Lubricate that take-up spool while we're at it. The bearing for it, that is. Put the belt back on. Put the screw back in the top here. The screw's got a little washer on it. I will, while I'm at it, do the other hub as well. Might as well. I've already got it apart, so we'll do this one while it's here, and both of these. Now this one's got a back tension band on here. Oh, the felt pad has come off. Well, that needs to be re-glued. Good thing I checked this. So we'll pull this here, lubricate this, and then put the felt pad back together. So a little bit of oil on the bearing here. It's got a felt pad on the inside as well. I wonder what that's for. Now I got to glue this back on. I think that cement used for fixing speakers will probably do a good job for this. So let's get some of that going. Using speaker service cement, MG Chemicals 8337. This is just kind of like a rubberized cement that stays kind of flexible, which is what you want when you're using it for things like gluing on the felt pads for back tension. I'm going to end up with this crap all over my fingers. I can just tell right now I'm going to end up with this crap all over my fingers. The nice thing about this stuff is it starts to get tacky within a minute or so. So once I've got it applied, I can be able to stick this onto the copper band, and it should adhere right away to it. It looks like it went all the way to here. If we look at where it went, I can just stick it back down roughly right to where it was, all the way down to the end like that. And I'll just let this stuff dry for a bit, and then we will be back to put this band back on. I could actually probably just let it sit there. While I'm doing that, I can lubricate the other pieces that need to be done. You can tell that this unit has been stored somewhere where it's been damp, because some of the screws and the pin there is rusted. This has been stored in a garage or a basement or someplace where it's been relatively damp. So hopefully there's not too much damage other than this. I guess we'll find out once I get the mechanism working as to whether it's going to play a tape or not. Now these machines themselves are notoriously unreliable. They required a lot of maintenance. So I'm hopeful that this one is going to be one that I'm going to be able to get going. But I'm not holding my breath. I didn't pay much for it. So guys, watch the video because I need to make my money back on this thing. There we go. And then this spring goes over here, locks this in place, like that. And then the other E-clip goes over top like this, and locks this whole piece into place. So now when I turn it, I'll apply power and turn the take-up reel. Go to fast forward, it'll apply full power. See, this is able to move up and down now, the idler here. So for fast forward it moves up, and then rewind. This is probably set up enough that I can put it back on, because the tension of the actual band being held up against the hub will actually help hold the felt in place so that it can set. But this glue gets tacky pretty quick, so it doesn't take long. Back tension band back in place. Can probably test this mechanically now. Everything's back together, so let's turn it on. And lots of take-up torque over here now. And then rewind is this. So now this one's turning for rewind with lots of torque. Ooh, better put that screw back in before it walks away. Okay, rewind. Lots of torque for rewind. Excellent. And then over here for play. This one's now got take up, pause, we'll keep it under tension, and then fast forward under full power. And the tape counter is moving. This belt drives the tape counter. There'll be another belt that goes underneath here to drive the tape counter. I think this unit here is probably almost ready to start going back together. See why this is sticking. Probably a lever under here. When you put it in play, this should try to move down like that. Okay, the only lever that's still currently sticking is the one that operates the auto stop, so that when the tape runs out, it shuts off. That lever is stuck. I think to get at that though, I'm going to have to pull the bottom off the unit and maybe go in from the bottom or remove the entire chassis to get to that. And I think I'm going to not do that at this particular moment in time because I really like to see whether this thing's going to operate. So let's kind of reassemble this deck, and throw a tape on it and see whether it works. Head guard goes in like this, and there's a screw that goes through that holds it in place right here on the front. Do not press strongly or place anything heavy on this part, you think. And then the main cover goes on like this. So this is the empty reel. It goes on there. I have a couple tapes. I have a brand new tape that's never even been used. I have one here. This probably suffers sticky shed, but we'll see whether it'll play anything. There might even be something on it. Let me get the little TV hooked up. TV connects with this multi-connector. This will work for both record and playback. Well, the TV seems to have acted up since the last time this was turned on. I seem to have a vertical. So since the last time this TV was turned on, it has developed a vertical problem. So I may have to actually hook this up to another television to try to play it back. But video signal is feeding through, and it also does it if I just switch directly to the TV itself. It's going through the VTR now, as you can see. It's going through the VCR, but it does it even. The picture is the same. This TV has developed a problem, so we're gonna have to fix that. And it smells like ozone, so there's corona inside there. One of the high voltage components is obviously arcing a little or spewing out some ozone. But I will thread the tape up. The tape goes around like this, goes in behind this guide. I remember one of these machines from when I was in school. Those of us that had the privilege of working in the AV class got to play with these machines. Goes around like that, through here, and this tape is probably going to stick because it's an old tape. But I just want to see whether it will pull the tape through and see if there's anything on this tape. Probably not, but we'll find out pretty quick. No, it's not going to move because this tape has stiction problems. There's something recorded on it. I don't see a picture. Not yet, anyway. Okay, I did not see any picture on that. I don't know whether there's a problem on here, or there probably is a problem on the unit itself, but that tape was also recorded on a different machine, and it may not have even been the same standard that this one is. We'll try this one and see if I can actually get a recording or get something to try to show. This tape should be blank. Pretty sure this tape is blank. It was sent to me by a viewer a couple of years ago when I showed off the other machine. Somebody contacted me and they said, "Hey, I've got a tape, a brand new tape that's still sealed." So they sent it to me, and this does not have sticky shed. that I'm aware of. So we'll see whether this tape will do anything different. It dropped right into place, and I probably tried to record something from on that other machine on this one. Okay, let's just try making a recording.
The world became a better place to not have the evilness here.
On this day, October 25th,
So I'm just recording something off of a TV, off one of my analog TV channels. We'll see if this thing tries to do anything whatsoever. And I'm sure it's probably got a problem, notwithstanding that this TV is not working very well. Vertical hold is rolling on this set, but it might get a little better once it warms up a bit.
I didn't understand how he could sit there after the horrendous.
See if anything plays back. No, didn't even. Oh, here we go.
Sounds like Wendy, a $500,000 policy for only $17 a month.
our secret? At Selectquote, we are nationally comparison shop highly rated companies to find you a company with the best rates.
We've got Gary 35, a $1 million policy for only $22 a month.
Why pay more? Get your the security they need at a price you can afford.
Call 1-800-288.
Okay, I got no picture whatsoever, just snow, but I got sound. Do we know that part's working?
Online
I'm going to try one more tape. This one was recorded on my other machine. This was actually a VHS tape that was wound on, so it was too thin, but it still had an image recorded on it. So let's just see whether something will play off this tape. I don't see any image on the TV at all, just snow. So I don't see any signal coming off here either. So the first thing I have to look at is the preamp. Is there any signal coming off the heads? It's just got slow motion. Ooh. Slow speed. It says pull for slow. That actually does work. And then push for regular speed. Let's take a look under the head cover here. See how this is it slip ring or is it rotary transformer? Might be slip rings on this, and if they're dirty, we won't get any signal. And it is a slip ring type, looks like. And the heads are in here. You can see that there's two heads. And this is slip ring. And there'll be a magnetic pickup here for to detect when the head passes over for tracking. You see when it turns on. So maybe a little cleaner on the slip rings. We'll just put a little deoxit on here and see whether it's just the slip rings are dirty. I'll use this deoxit so we're not spraying it around everywhere. Just put a little bit on each of the contacts in here. See how this works. Got two sets of slip rings for the two heads, and this is a plastic shaft, and there'll be metal contacts underneath here that the slip rings make contact with to transmit the signal from the heads to the amplifiers. Now, looking at it here, these are parallel together. See the two blue wires, one going to each side, the two white, the two red, and the two yellow. So these are paralleled together, so you have double connection. That would be for redundancy and probably to decrease the resistance as the signal was picked up. And thread the tape with the cover off and bring my hand in here and just see whether we pick up any, well, even if I don't thread the tape, are we going to pick up any noise from the amplifiers? I don't see anything changing on the screen. I would expect, oh yeah, I do. Watch the signal meter down here. When I bring my hand in close, we're seeing RF. So we may have a head problem on this. It might be bad heads, or dirty heads, clogged heads. That's entirely possible. Or the heads themselves might be just worn right out. I do have another machine that has heads in it though, so, but not that I really want to change them, but it might be the heads are clogged, or they could be damaged. Don't know, right? Because I just acquired this unit. Don't know whether I'll ever get it to work either, but it's worth a try. The tape goes around like this. Goes around the scanner. In behind this little guide. You see, if I bring my finger anywhere near here, you'll see that little meter moving up, which is an indication that the preamp is working, you see. So we're not getting any signal off of the heads themselves. Or very little signal. So I guess the first thing to do is to try cleaning the heads. Maybe I'll even take the drum apart. Lift the drum head, lift the ring off here, I think. Probably take the slip rings apart doing that. But let's try cleaning the heads first. Just use a piece of paper with alcohol, just like we would do on a VHS machine. See if the heads are dirty. So I'll just hold the paper in here to rotate the scanner. Oh, there was a fair bit of dirt on there. Look at that. Maybe the heads are just dirty. That's a possibility. If the heads are completely clogged, we're not going to get anything from them. Since this tape has something recorded on it, and I know it's got something on it, we should see something. So we look down on the head scanner itself. You'll see there's a metal bar here. This is what's used to trigger these coils. This is to tell this head switching circuit which head is active. As it spins around, it'll produce a pulse as it passes this coil. That's telling the system that this head is starting its scan. And then as it passes this other coil here, it's telling it that this head is starting its scan. So if we don't have switching pulses, the switch won't know which head to turn on. But in this case, we're not getting any RF anyway, because the RF, I'd see RF on the meter over here if we were getting RF. Because you see, I do see it if I put my finger there near the preamp. red wire. I get RF. Just going to pull the scanner apart just to take a peek at the actual head drum. So before I do that, I'm going to mark here, that way I know where it goes, and we'll just remove the hex keys. They are 4mm. And this will allow me to lift the top of the scanner off to observe the head disc. If this looks familiar, if this looks like the later Betamax machines, well, it's just like it. That's how the Betamax machines were, the later ones, with the two-piece drum. Remove the two screws, and the top of the scanner should lift off, like that, to reveal the heads. Are there even any heads here, or are they broken? The video heads are right here. Let's get a close-up and see if there's even any heads there. Maybe the heads are shot. That's always a possibility, that the heads themselves are broken. And if that's the case, well, the other machine I've got might have heads that are compatible with this. But look, it sure looks like the heads are missing. I don't see the heads sticking out at the end there at all, do you? I think the heads are broken on this machine, and that's why there's no picture. Well, that kind of sucks, doesn't it? Now the head chips might be the same as the other one uses. We'll just lift one of the head chips off of this thing. I mean, yes, you never would do this because you need an alignment tape to get it back, but in reality, if I can sub heads from the other machine and make it work, there really won't be any compatibility problems. Yeah, the head chips are broken. Look at that. Yeah, that's why we have no picture. They're gone. The head chip should be right there. But it's missing. Same with this one over here will be missing as well. The head is missing. There's no head there. Well, that will explain why we don't have a picture. You can see where the old head, or where the head's supposed to be, right there. What I'm curious is, nah, a VHS head wouldn't, like a head chip from a VHS drum is probably not big enough to fit there and protrude out far enough. But I do have, as I say, I do have another machine like this, which is going to have a scanner the same size. Another black and white machine. It might be worthwhile just to go and grab the heads off of that one and see whether they will fit on this one. Might be worth the effort. Salvage one machine to make another one work, because this one's in much nicer shape than the other one. It has a lot more features. And if the heads fit, well, it might be worth looking into. This one's a good head. You can see the head chip there right in the end, you see? If the camera will focus, you can see the head chip on the end there. And this is the bad one. As you can see, the bad one has no head chip because the head chip that used to be on the bottom has been snapped off. This is a good one out of my other machine. So we'll try putting these good heads on and see whether I can get an image or record an image. I'm not so concerned about being able to play an existing tape because there are different heads, but in theory, if I replace the head with one that can put out a signal, I should be able to record and play in theory. The alignment is pretty critical on these, obviously. Okay, unfortunately I don't think this is going to be possible because the actual head chips themselves are slightly different. I'll show you what I mean. See, the head drum won't turn because the heads for this one were mounted on the bottom of the chip of the head itself, and these ones are mounted on the top. And they've got this big blob of epoxy which sticks up over top of the head, and this big blob of epoxy is making contact with the upper drum. The original heads, these ones here, the head chips were actually on the bottom. On these ones, the head chips are on the top. So even though they're the same, pretty much the same physical size, the fact that the head chip was on the bottom on this versus on the top means that this one's not going to work. It was worth a try, but unfortunately, I think we're going to have to call this one a day and say, sorry, I wish I could fix it, but doesn't look like that's going to happen. And the head drum themselves are a little bit different as well. The other one uses slip rings that go around this way as opposed to on the side here. So I guess these ones will have to go back into the other one, and we'll have to abandon this project unless I can come up with some heads, and maybe someone who's watching has one of these old machines and they can ship me a pair of heads, and we can see if we can get this one working. Otherwise, this one will just get resold as a parts scrap machine, and the next person can try to use it for other parts for restoration. Anyway, we gave it a shot, so unfortunately this one's going to have to go in the junk pile. There it is, back together with the bad head, and you can see it turns freely. The other one was touching, so unfortunately there's nothing I can do. If I could find another set of heads for this thing, great. I'll leave this thing just kind of sitting here in limbo for a bit. See if someone contacts me after seeing this video and saying, hey, I've got one of those machines, or I've got one like that, I'll send you a head. And if that's the case, excellent, we might be able to get this one running. But until then, I'm just going to throw it back together, put the top cover back on, mechanically it's working now. We just need to find a head or something that will work. There we go. That's all I can do on this one. It's too bad. It would be nice to have been able to make this work. Maybe someday that will be a reality. All depends on if I can find a replacement head for it. And no, I'm not buying one. I can just see someone out there sitting on one saying, hey, I'll sell you a head. No, I paid $15 for this thing, so hopefully enough of you guys are going to watch this that I'll make my $15 investment back, make it worth my while to drive out to pick this thing up. It was promising initially, but unfortunately it's not going to be. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.